Okay. Hey guys. Um the month of October we celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but October is also the day for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance, and the specific day to remember that is October 15th. But the entire month of October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Month. I wanted to speak on this because I myself have gone through pregnancy loss and infant loss, and I think it's something important to speak about because too many times there is a shame associated with this and a taboo somewhat to speak on this, and I feel like it is nothing to be ashamed about, and it should not be a taboo thing to speak about. In 2018 I found out that I was pregnant. In early 2018, my son was supposed to be born March of 2019, and unfortunately, it did not go as planned. In December of 2018, he was born, and he unfortunately was not strong enough to survive on his own, so he died. Um, it wasn't completely unexpected because thankfully I had a warning signs beforehand. In November, I had some of my amniotic fluid that leaked out, and because of that I went to a doctor, and then the doctor saw that my cervix was very thin. So I found out that I had an incompetent cervix. So I then found out that because of my incompetent cervix, it was very likely that my son was going to be born early. So from that point on, I was put on hospital bed rest. So that was for about a month total that I was on bed rest. I spent about 2 or 3 weeks at bed rest in St. Martin. I had about a few days or a week of bed rest in Colombia. So that's why I said thankfully that happened, because if my amniotic fluid had not leaked, I probably wouldn't have realized that my son was going to be premature, and then everything would have been a sudden shock. Because my amniotic fluid leaked, I went to the doctor, and then I was better able to mentally prepare myself for what was likely to happen. Like I said, in December of 2018, my son was born, and unfortunately, he did not survive. I did all that I could do. When the doctors told me what was happening, I went on bed rest, and that's about all that I could do. Um, when after he passed, after we found out what was happening, I had family members that was telling me, like, why was I so active during my pregnancy? Because I started exercising again. Just before I found out I was pregnant, I planned on starting to exercise. But I started exercising again because that's part of being pregnant. You have to be active so that you're better prepared for when you have to deliver your child. I had a 1.5-year-old at the time, so I also needed to entertain her. So I was active in entertaining her and lifting her up and playing with her and all those things. And I got questions on why were you doing these things? You're pregnant, da 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 da. But at that time, I had no reason to think that anything was wrong because I had a healthy pregnancy with my daughter. So I just carried out. As far as the research that I saw, there was absolutely nothing wrong with what I was doing. And from what I was told by doctors and nurses while in the hospital and since that time, there's nothing that I could have done to prevent what happened. Um, it is what it is. My body, had I sat still the entire first few months of my pregnancy, this is likely to still have happened. An incompetent cervix is caused when your child is just too heavy for your body. And yeah, that's what happened. I remember when I gave birth to my daughter, my doctor at that time also said that my daughter was pretty big for my body, and my daughter didn't make it full term. She was born a month early. So all that to say, there was nothing that I could have done to prevent what happened. So when my family members asked these questions, I just realized that they were looking for a reason why this happened. They were trying to make sense of what happened so that hopefully it would help their processing grieving. It would help their sadness. Since then, after my son died and I came back to the island, I sought therapy just to ensure that I was grieving correctly, to make sure that I was going through the steps. Because again, at first I was in shock when my son died. It took a few days before I realized what happened, or for it to register in my mind what actually happened, and then to come back into my regular life and have to be a mom again to a child that did not understand what was going on, that had absolutely no clue what was happening. I didn't feel it was fair to then put whatever I was feeling on her, especially if she doesn't understand. So I sought therapy just to ensure that I was dealing with my emotions in a healthy way, because I didn't want any negative feelings that I was feeling to then leak onto her and her to feel the repercussions of my feelings. So I sought therapy, and through that, and just already understanding what was bound to happen, and just time passing by and accepting what happened, I was feeling pretty okay about it. One thing my therapist told me that I still try to hold on to is that if I'm feeling sad, own it. Don't try to shy away from my sad feelings. Feel sad, acknowledge I'm feeling sad, completely feel that sadness, and then let it go. Don't hold on to it. Don't try to push it away and pretend that everything is okay. Feel your sadness and then move on from it. And this is 2 years, almost 3 years later, and I still feel sad from time to time, because I remember that I had a belly and I have no baby to show for it. I remember that my daughter, who loves kids, who's a very social child, should have had a baby brother right now to play with, and she doesn't. I should have had 2 headaches in my life, and I don't. And from time to time, just those thoughts creep in when you see another woman pregnant and carrying herself. There were a few other women that were pregnant around the same time that I was, and when I see them with their kids, and I remember that my son would have been this age and probably maybe friends with their kids, all of those thoughts, I have a lot of thoughts. I have to go through them, I have to process them, and then I have to let them go, because it's a thing that happened. It's sad, it sucks, but it happened, and I can't change that. And why I wanted so badly to make this video is simply to tell anyone that's going through that it sucks. It sucks. It really does suck. Point blank period. It sucks. But it is nothing to feel ashamed about. There is nothing that you could have done. We plan, God laughs. We can make all the plans in the world, and we can't change the inevitable. And just know that there is nothing wrong with you. You did nothing wrong. Unfortunately, it's just a thing that happened. And if you need to reach out. Find somebody you can speak to. You can find me. Like, you can send me an email. I'm not a professional by any means, but if you need an ear, I'm here. I can direct you to professionals that I found. I can direct you to agencies that I found that have helped me. But just know that you're not alone. Never feel alone. Reach out and reach out, speak out. There are so many support groups out there, and support groups are definitely something that help. Uh, just don't keep it all inside. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. There's nothing to keep quiet about. This is a thing that has happened to you, and there is nothing wrong with speaking out about it and talking about it and asking for help in dealing with it. And before I ramble anymore, that's all I wanted to say.